What if it rained food? What if Earth was a cube? What if we had 9 lives? What if bits could fly? It's absurd. If money grew on trees, if we didn't have knees, if we walked through life slightly magnetical, it's absurd. Absurd Hypotheticals.
Hello everybody and welcome to Absurd Hypotheticals, the show where we overthink dumb questions so you don't have to. I'm your host Marcus Lehner and I'm joined here today by Chris Yee and Ben Storms. Say hi guys.
Hey, I'm Chris.
Hey, I'm Ben. So
if you may have noticed from the episode title, or maybe you didn't notice, but we are changing up our format slightly for the show going forward. So what we're going to be doing is, instead of 2 questions per episode, we're going to be doing just the one.
It's going to be like more focused on that one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly. So what we've been finding is that we have to rush through our 2 questions to get them into the time frame for the podcast. We don't want the podcast as a whole to be too much longer than an hour. And so we've definitely had to abandon things we want to explore a little bit more, and we had to cut conversations short that we really want to get in there. So we want to have just 1 question per episode. As an added bonus to the new format, we're going to be doing at the end, we're going to be doing a Would You Rather question, where we kind of just talk about a dumb Would You Rather X or Y.
You've been pushing this Would You Rather for a while, and we're like, there's nowhere to put it.
Mostly because every time I explain the show to somebody, I'm like, yeah, we do like hypothetical questions. I was like, oh, like, would you rather have this or this? And I'm like, well, no.
Well, no, because there's 3 of us and it doesn't work in the format, so.
Yeah, so instead of what if, so I was like, well, we can do what if and would you rather questions. And I think it's going to be fun. So that's how we're doing it. And going forward, it's going to be awesome.
And it'll still be the same release schedule. So every Monday.
Anything else about our format change that we need to cover?
No, that's kind of it.
I don't think so.
I mean, you've made the note document look much, much sexier, which is a positive for me. But it's now got now it looks very Excel-y as opposed to Microsoft Wordy, which is easier for me to read. Maybe that's just because I'm an engineer.
Yeah, he's talking about, we have like a form, it's like a sheet that just tells us the order of things that we're doing on the episode. And it was very unprofessional what we had before.
Oh, and another thing, in addition to the format change, we got a couple other exciting things going on. First and foremost, important to us, is we have just started a Patreon for the podcast.
Yeah, I don't know, because it has to go through a review process. I don't know how long that review process is. It might be out right now. It might not be. Well,
under the assumption we're not prematurely announcing our Patreon, it will be up very, very soon. And if you're enjoying the show and you want to support us as creators, give us some money. It's very direct. We do a service. You give us the money.
I mean, we tried this whole thing with sponsors with like fake ads, and for some reason we weren't getting money from that.
That was like months and months and months ago. But but weirdly, shit, I'm trying to remember even one of our fake ads. Bjorn's Fjord dealership did not send a check. Oh yeah. So go to our Patreon. We got a couple different levels. We got the you just donated to us level and we love you. We got the you get to vote on our shit level, and we've got the bonus episode level, which I'm also going to talk about a little bit more in detail later. But each month we're going to do a little bit of a behind the scenes episode. The first one's going to be available for everybody and is coming out this Friday. And then from that point forward, the first Friday of each month we'll have a behind the scenes episode where we talk about how we make the show, what we actually thought of each other's answers, and any other fun tidbits that we come across. It's going to be more of like a chill hangout with yours truly and
it's going to be a more casual setting, just give you like a peek behind the curtains.
I like the idea of more casual than our current situation where we just like bullshit for 45 minutes to an hour.
I mean, our actual answers are like sort of a presentation to each other.
Fair enough.
This will be more conversational.
Yeah. That's true.
Yeah, this is like PowerPoint, like high school PowerPoint presentations on dumb topics is what we do.
Mm-hmm. That's actually the best way to describe our show. New slogan.
Well, Ben, it is. I am Mr. Teacher, and you are called on first to answer the following question.
Oh no!
What if country borders were uncrossable and you didn't study?
I did not study. Yeah. So this is a question that we thought about for a little while, definitely. And sort of the way we're doing this is basically people cannot cross into another country's borders.
Right. We had discussed maybe like an invisible wall, but it's not really that, because like items can cross and stuff.
Yeah, the invisible wall is kind of interesting, but it really just ends up with most of the people die because you can't produce everything you need to live.
Yeah.
So it's a little less fun. Oh, we also said that this is not like as it happens. It's been happening for a little bit, but we're gonna use like current geopolitical structure because otherwise things get really messy.
Yeah, for example, anyone who drives over a country line immediately dies as their vehicle passes through, and they do not.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
yeah, and it hasn't always been like this. So it's been like this for like a few years, but not forever.
Yeah. So basically we're taking the world as is, current country borders, but people are a little bit used to it now.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So as I always do for some reason in questions like this, I got interested in the way that like shipping works. I'm really noticing this trend.
You do talk about shipping a lot.
What is your obsession, Ben?
I don't know. I don't understand it, guys. It's one of those things where I think it's just the most obvious system that gets disrupted in all these questions, and I really just looking at the way that like systems get fucked up by things like this. I don't know.
Maybe you just really like shipping, Ben.
Maybe
should we do a deep dive? Should we do a deep dive episode where you talk about why UPS trucks only make right turns?
Oh, we should. No.
Oh god,
no.
I shouldn't have suggested that.
We won't. We have other things to deal with. Like, what if you couldn't cross borders? So this is actually for like getting between just countries that are next to each other with like a land border. It's actually a lot easier than I expected it to be. It's really pretty straightforward. Sort of what you have to do is just, you just get a vehicle moving and then get out and let it cross the border.
Let it
that's kind of
for a little bit.
Yeah, the basic one. And like there's some trust issues.
Right, because again,
there.
if you are driving a car that crosses the border, the car goes through the border, but you do not.
Exactly, yeah. So get in a truck, drive it towards the border, hop out,
push it.
Someone else takes over. There's obviously, you got to have some trust on the other side and everything, but it's a pretty straightforward answer. More long-term, because that's kind of weird and kludgy. The really simple solution is you have trains that just have an engine either side, and you get it halfway across and have someone on the other side get into the other engine and take over, and that's kind of it. So hey, you can ship things. The more complicated one is international shipping, like via ships and stuff. Because international shipping is actually like the number I found from the International Chamber of Shipping, which sounds very official, is from like ship-based shipping. It carries around 90% of the world's trade. So obviously it's a pretty important structure to just entirely like throw out. So we gotta figure out a way around this one. So sort of the loophole that we're going to use here, if you want to think of it that way, is international waters. Because there was some deliberation amongst the three of us on how to handle this, but I thought that it would let me do this answer, which is more fun, so we decided to go with this way.
Ben whined a lot until we let him have it.
I really did, and I'm glad that I did, because my answer is
really
nice.
wanted to make shipping work.
I really wanted to make shipping work. Basically, as you may have noticed earlier, what I specifically said was you could not cross into another country's borders. And international waters basically are the idea that 12 nautical miles, which is 13.8 miles or 22.2 kilometers, out from the mean low water mark of a state. So
what about English nautical miles?
Man, I don't even want to bother doing any more conversions. So outside that point, it is territory that cannot be owned by that country, basically. So international waters cover like 50% of the surface area of the planet and 2/3 of the ocean specifically. So you got a lot of room out there, actually. One fun thing about international waters that I didn't really like looked too much into international waters. I just always knew it as like the jokey thing you said for like, you can do anything. So there actually is a very long document that I did not read out all of, but it is the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea, which is a great name.
The Law of the Sea. How long is it?
It is long. It is really long. It is multiple, like 100 pages. So I guess to put it this way, the articles that I took out specifically dealing with piracy, because that was sort of one of the things that I wanted to make sure wouldn't be a problem, are articles 100, 101, and 105. and those were probably like the midpoint of the document. So it's verbose, I will say. And I won't like go through those in full, but basically anyone can fuck with pirates, even if it's outside their jurisdiction technically. And they can like seize the ship and whatever and try them under their own laws. So you won't just have like pirates all over the place because, hey, we don't have that now. We should have thought about that earlier. So don't worry about that. So now we have to actually get like goods moving between countries, which is still a problem because obviously, you know, you can get goods most of the way there, but not all the way there if you have a ship. So the easy solution is you pair up ships and crews. So say you're a company that ships things from like Japan to the US. You have one ship full of people from Japan with goods going to the US, and one ship that's like the same size and preferably probably type of ship with a crew full of people from the US and goods going to Japan. They meet in the middle and trade ships and go home.
Yay! We boated.
So that works. That technically works. It's not ideal. It obviously only works for really basic, like, direct trade. And also, I don't think ships are really designed to let you do that.
Well, not yet. Well, if you have little lifeboats or something, like you have a crew waiting on the other side, and they just throw up some grappling hooks and ropes.
I mean, I'm sure you could do it. It's just going to be like a really annoying process that's not like the smoothest. So I think
it's been like this for a few years, so we've developed boats that do that.
So I think we don't, because I think the other issue is just that like it only works for like direct country to country trade, which I think that's a little limiting. So I think that what's going to naturally happen is basically.
Wait, I just spotted a problem too, Ben.
Oh, please enlighten me.
So you have a big ship, right?
Yep.
You got your crew.
Yep.
You travel across the ocean. You go across the Atlantic, and you go and you trade your ship and have it shipped across the line, right?
Yep.
Now you've given the other crew, your big ship.
Oh no! You misunderstand. There is an equal and opposite ship meeting you in the middle.
Okay.
Coordinate.
Yes, it is Newton's law of international shipping.
I thought you were just gonna be like, now the original crew was now just in like lifeboats, like in the Atlantic.
No.
Miles away from a shore they can actually occupy.
Trade ships, and then just take them home. It does work. It's just not very elegant. The better solution is basically that these shipping companies just start banding together and making these big, like, floating islands out in international waters that they pretty much run, that are just neutral sites where ships can offload cargo and get it, you know, shipped out wherever it's going. And then you can also, like, you could technically have, like, an airport on there to, like, if you wanted to do air shipping for, like, urgent things, you could still technically do it. It only works to countries on the borders of the ocean, and it's very expensive because you need a plane from there to do it, but it is possible at least that way. But that makes it a lot simpler to do this whole thing if you had this like neutral site basically that obviously can't ever be owned by a government, because then everyone on it has to leave.
I mean, technically the way you define this border thing is you said you can't go into countries. If they go into international waters, they can't go back into their own country.
No, you can go back into your own country,
I said
other people's country.
You can't cross into another country's borders.
Okay.
Yeah. We have to be very careful with the wording because, yes, this is all semantics. And the fun thing here is that, so, you know, you're going to have these big, like, basically, like, shipping conglomerates that are just banging together. And they're going to be pretty powerful because they control, you know, basically all of the world's trade. And I do think, for simplicity's sake, they're going to start trying to like make advances in like robotics and, you know, things like that, so they don't have to have like all these different, you know, single nation crews they're like, you know, keeping around, just to make it a little bit easier. Because if you have like robots to crew your ships, then you just, you know, you can send them anywhere and everything's easy. So we're probably gonna do a lot of development on that. And sort of the end game that I'm seeing here is basically that these shipping companies are going to be like cyberpunk megacorporations with robot armies. You
mean like Amazon is already?
Yeah, like Amazon. Pretty much like Amazon, actually. Did I do that thing I did with Elon Musk again?
I was just about to say that.
This time by accident, though?
I actually didn't mean to do it this time.
And they're going to have drones shipping all the boxes, and it's going to be free 2-day shipping.
Well, there's that. Well, okay. So that was actually unintentional, I promise. But yeah, pretty much. So we have cyberpunk mega corporations now, and or Amazon. And the other thing, technically, you could also ship things with a space program, because if you go up high enough, you eventually leave a country's territory as well.
So outer space would basically just be international waters.
Right, yeah. It's not very practical for shipping purposes, though, I don't think.
Just go over the giant invisible wall.
Yeah, and then you have to like shoot it in from orbit and then hope it lands. Well, you can't put it in the ocean anymore, so I think it's technically an act of war. So maybe don't do that one, but I guess technically it could work. So it's sort of, I guess, my main plan here is mega corporations with eventually robot armies. So that's how we let you still order things online. So,
worth it.
Chris, what did you do?
So I looked at tourism, because a lot of countries, they like rely on tourism to help their economy and stuff like that. I just wanted to see how tourism would work.
It seems tricky when you can't go places. It does seem
tricky when you can't go anywhere.
Right.
I mean, like in the US, you can go to different states, I guess, but not the same.
No, not quite.
So the main thing about tourism is, I guess, just sightseeing. People like to see different sights. So I'm like, how can you see different sites around the world without actually going there? And the first thing that came to mind was VR. It seems like a pretty natural place to start. And they already have like VR live streaming for, actually don't know if they've already implemented them or not for like sports and
they have
shows and stuff. They have.
I actually remember seeing there were very prominent ads for it during March Madness. So yeah, that's definitely a thing now.
Yeah, so you can do that.
Wait, when you do say VR sports streaming, are you like on the field?
Basically, it's like they're either like courtside seats, or I think the ones for March Madness were actually like right above the backboard, which was cool.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
So that's a pretty easy way to just like transport you to somewhere else. But obviously that is like stationary and you can only see one spot. I mean, you could just have multiple across like a country and like hop from one to another, but that's no fun. You want to be able to like walk somewhere. So the next thing I thought of was, why not just like attach a 360 camera to someone's head, like a surrogate person, and you'll just like rent this person for like a week and have them walk around for you, that could work. Then that'd just be their job.
It's like Uber for walking.
For people. But I think it would be kind of annoying to give directions. You would have like limited control, and then they would have to like eat and stuff and like go to the bathroom. It would be really awkward.
Yeah, also like you get like, no matter who you are, you're gonna act like a 12-year-old boy when you're in control of somebody else, because they're gonna be like on a bridge looking out, and you're gonna be like, now jump off, forward, jump off.
Yeah.
And they're gonna be like, I'm not gonna do that. And you're like, I command you.
It's your job. You have to.
It's your job. You have to. I signed a contract.
So people, you could do it, but it's not ideal. So the next logical step is robots. And Ben already mentioned robots. He has a robot army right now, apparently, to ship things. But I want to look at specific robots that like are like super mobile and that can like go anywhere. They can like climb stairs and stuff. So the one I found was Big Dog by Boston Dynamics. I remember.
Oh no, I hate this one.
Yeah, there was a viral video of it like 10 years ago or something.
There's a lot. I think
it murdered a dude, if I recall correctly.
If you saw that video, you'll see that it's like a pretty creepy looking robot. There's actually a Black Mirror episode based on that.
No spoilers. I just watched the episode 2 of Black Mirror and enjoyed it way more than episode 1. So I don't want to hear any more.
Episode 1 is not a great starting point for that.
Exactly. So don't tell me anything more, because I don't want to know any more about any Black Mirror episodes.
Okay. Well, I already ruined that there's a robot in one.
You shut the fuck up.
One of them has a robot.
Hey, Marcus, I'm going to spoil every Black Mirror episode for you. Technology is bad. Done.
Yeah.
That was pretty good in one of them, maybe.
And then I think a more recent robot from Big Dog there's one called Animal, or Animal, like animal but any instead of an. And it's basically the same thing. It's like more versatile and just like better in general.
It's a dog with 8 legs now, much less creepy.
And these robots are like, they're quadrupedal, so they have 4 legs, and they're like super stable. So if you like push it, then it'll like stabilize itself. It won't fall over. And they can climb stairs. They can navigate obstacles. They're just really good at navigating. So this is like a perfect option to strap a 360 camera to and have walk around. You just like control it, like remote control it or something, like a video game.
Oh god, I just had this vision of like you're at like the Great Wall of China and it's just endless like quadruped dog robots and it's the worst.
Well, if you're from there, you're not going to go there, right?
But so like if you're visiting
people there.
If you're visiting it via dog.
Yeah, then I'll just be all other dogs, but so I want to see if it's actually possible to like remote control one of these from across the world. Like if you want to go to the Great Wall of China. So I started looking at like long distance control, and I started with the rover on Mars and how they control that. And they can control it, but it takes there's like a 13-minute delay, which is not ideal.
Yeah. Mars is very far away.
Yeah. So yeah, that's an extreme case. We don't need to transmit to Mars. We only need to go across the world. And there are other instances of controlling robots from far distances. You can actually, so there are some robots that you can control over the internet, using like, if the robot has like a hotspot connection or something. And there is one surgeon that actually performed a surgery from like a different country with like a robot arm.
That. Yeah.
I think I forget exactly what the surgery was, but it was a hardware connection and it had 175 milliseconds of lag.
That's a lot for a surgery.
It is a lot for a surgery, but he did it. And you obviously don't really need, I mean, the lag is annoying, but you don't need really lower than that just to like navigate. But I did look into lower lag just to see what there was. And I looked specifically into video games and cloud gaming, because there are a lot of services popping up now where they let you like stream a video game and it processes the game on their server and then it sends that image to your computer, and you don't need like a super good computer to play it. And they've kind of like gotten pretty efficient with the amount of lag on it. So they've gone down to 20 to 30 milliseconds of lag, which in my opinion is pretty good.
Yeah, no, that's kind of I always wondered how good those systems are, because every time I hear about it, they're like, yeah, you're going to stream it from our console. I'm like, I can't imagine that being any good.
I mean, obviously it depends on the quality of your connection. But yeah, if you have a good internet connection, then this controlling robots from across the world is completely viable. So we have all the tech right now that we need. It's not like the most efficient right now, but I feel like if we had a couple years to develop it, then we could get there. And in this hypothetical world, we would be there. So that's how tourism would work. You just have dog robots with VR headsets.
I would fight other VR dogs with my VR dog.
Well, yeah, that's obvious that you're gonna do that.
If I'm like taking a tour of the Taj Mahal and some other douche nugget with his VR dog is in the good looking spot, and I'm just gonna have my dog kick his dog, and I think it would be very awkward as a local resident if you want to see the Taj Mahal, and you go there and it's like 85% robo dogs. That's going to be a little bit of a weird vacation.
It will be a little unsettling just to see that many robo dogs in one spot.
Also, how would you feel like a small town person? Like, you live basically nowhere, but like some like tourist has gotten his idea he wants to see your little town. And so there's just a robo dog going across the street and you don't know who it is or anything about it, but you just know that somebody is watching.
You want to visit like Amish town.
Oh, I'm sure not going to have it with us.
Nope.
So that was all I had. What do you do, Marcus?
So I actually started off looking at Warfare, which would have been funny because I would have also ended up at robot armies.
Like, there's nowhere else to go other than that.
So instead, I took a step back and then I zoomed in a bit and I looked at the curious case of Barla Hertog.
Barla Hertog.
Yep, Barla Hertog, which is a town. I'm gonna put that in quotes within Barla Nassau. I'm going to also put that in quotes, because they're not quite towns. So basically, what it is back in 1843, the Netherlands and Belgium were arguing about their border. And so they eventually came to an agreement and signed the Treaty of Maastricht in 1843. And when they did this, there was one town kind of right on the border that I guess was originally called Barle, that they couldn't quite agree on how to split it up. So what they ended up doing was basically going into that town, and the agreement kind of ended up being like, hey, are you like from the Netherlands or from Belgium? And kind of going by who owned which properties, about which country got which one. And the way the border works is that it basically cuts up this town into like little cookie cutter sections, and each of them are owned by different countries. And it just looks absolutely like goes through buildings. It like goes across roads. It's absolutely nonsensical.
Yeah, you showed us a map before we started recording, and it looks like it's just like scattered like red spots here and there of each country.
Yeah.
You know what it looks like? It looks like you took like a regular like city map and like highlighted which blocks were residential and which ones were like commercial, and like just like that kind of population map highlight.
Yeah, it's a SimCity overlay.
Yeah, exactly.
The key thing is that they're not connected.
Yes, and they are not connected. That's also a very important point.
Also, what I love about it too is that not only was it just based on different properties, it was also based on land ownership dating back to the 12th century. So it's not even like they use the current owners for like a lot of the time.
So do you need like a passport to go like a few feet like down the block?
No, I assume no. Just practically you couldn't do that.
Yeah.
But it was actually interesting because the overall border like actually moved a bit south. So now Netherlands surrounds the whole thing, and Belgium is kind of like the scattered bits in it. And they actually used it in World War I. It was actually a Belgian refuge in the Netherlands when the full country of Belgium was invaded. But then refugees would go to this part of Belgium because they couldn't invade Netherlands yet. So this was like a refuge for people, specifically because it was their country in a different country. It was like a consul, but different. So anyway, life in this town is going to be a bit complicated. Mainly because every like main road going into it, and a lot of roads in between, and different property lines, and in the middle of some dude's field, there are sections that are other countries with walls that you cannot see and cannot pass through. I think my favorite is there's a supermarket where there's just a line like running like diagonally through the whole supermarket, where like one side is Belgium, one side is Netherlands. So you're gonna have to cooperate with your neighbors to get like food in that instance. I also imagine a lot of cases where you're like walking down the sidewalk with like a coffee in your hand and you just hit the wall because you're not paying attention.
Right.
And just
I'd imagine
they'd
like draw a line on the ground or something.
Yeah, but I mean, like, you're not gonna see all like it's like every other block is a new country. But the real tricky one is what I went a little bit more in depth on is so each of these areas, if you have a piece of a country in another country, it's called an enclave. What they also have in this town is counter enclaves, where you have a bit of area in a bit of area that's in another country.
Oh.
So there are small sections of Netherlands that are in and completely surrounded by areas of Belgium. And basically what it results with is that you live in like this little like 60 by 60 square area is like your country now, and the only place you can go.
So you're probably gonna die.
Well, I mean, again, there are people right across the border. Your neighbors can help you.
You have to rely on other people.
Yeah, hopefully your neighbors like you.
Right. But ideally, you would try to escape. And that is kind of where it's actually a lot harder than I thought it would be. And I don't even know if you can escape from your little enclave, because obviously there's no ocean to go into, no international waters. And you're kind of just surrounded by this invisible wall that you cannot get through. And as far as I know, countries like you can't go under it because your country's sovereignty extends downwards. But there is the upper limit. So eventually there's a certain height where it is no longer the country anymore, and is now international airspace. So the question was, how high up is that? There's no answer for that, actually. Did you know that?
I didn't know that. I know we've referenced that limit in like a few episodes, but we never actually looked it up.
Yeah, so there's actually not a limit. There are proposals for what the vertical extent of sovereign airspace is, with a couple suggestions. The first one, which I think is the most sensible one, is 30 kilometers or 19 miles, which is the extent of the highest aircraft and balloons, kind of that limit. The other suggestion is instead of 30 kilometers, 160 kilometers, which is the lowest extent of short-term stable orbits. And then some people argue that it should be 100 kilometers, which is the recognized Kármán line, which is the Earth atmosphere outer space boundary, which is actually also a fuzzy number. So people argue with anywhere between 30 and 160 kilometers from the ground is where the country technically ends.
But there's no established thing.
Yeah, there's no real law about it. No agreed national law of where that ends. But I, for this, just looked at the 30 kilometer one because if it's the other one, you're fucked.
Right,
I'll just say this, you're fucked. So how do you get up 30 kilometers from your little square? My first thought was jetpacks. If you get a jetpack and just go and go and go and go. So the jetpacks I was looking up, the best one, it seems, the Martin aircraft jetpack. It can fly at 46 miles an hour. And it can last it has a maximum duration between 30 and 45 minutes, which can get you some distance. Problem is, because it needs, air to keep its engine running, it can only go up to heights of about 3,000 feet, which is nowhere near the 19 miles that we need to accomplish. So the jetpack is right out. The next thing I was looking at was, what if you just go up style and get a whole bunch of helium balloons? So the interesting thing about helium balloons is that the height where helium kind of evens out with the density of the air, which would be the theoretical height of how high helium balloons can go, is basically exactly our 30 kilometer height that we need to get over. It's like they're both just 30 kilometers.
I mean, that's kind of what the limit is based on, right?
Well, they didn't. It's also like a soft limit for aircrafts and things. Like there's a couple of things that don't go past that height. And yeah, balloons is one of them. The problem is, so you have all these balloons. You're going to need a lot of helium balloons to live yourself in the first place. And the outrageous numbers I saw for that don't even work because the higher and higher you go, the density difference is less and less and less and less. You're going to need more and more and more balloons.
I feel like you looked at this before or something else.
I did look at once in a previous episode about how many balloons it would take to lift up a house. And it was about an infinite number. So you can lift a person with helium balloons. I think you need, at ground level, I think you need 4 balloons that are like, I think 10 foot long and 3 foot diameter, something like that. Like big boy balloons. But they only get you so high until that the weight to helium ratio wears off, because you're going to need to be almost an insignificant portion to it.
Right.
And when you have that many balloons, you kind of run into a problem, which is the wind is going to catch these balloons.
Oh, no.
Yeah, you're going to drift. You're going to hit the wall.
Yeah, you're going to hit the wall, and the balloons are going to keep going. And for the amount of balloons you need and whatever the wind pressure is, it's just going to crush you against that invisible wall. And there's no way you're going to keep it straight. So I looked at a couple. So, and this problem kind of applies to a couple other things too. I looked at aircraft. So they have some aircraft that have like the vertical takeoff, but those aircraft also don't function after a certain altitude. I looked at the electromagnetic launch systems that they use on Navy boats, where you have just the electromagnetic current to quick launch ships from battleships. And those are pretty cool because they could accelerate a 100,000 pound aircraft to 150 miles an hour in just under 300 feet. So if you could verticalize that, you could definitely generate enough force for a person to get up that high. The problem is of course, what kind of launching force can you survive? So looking at how many Gs a person could survive for any length of time is about 9 Gs. So 9 times the force of gravity in the opposite direction. So if you would want to get 5 seconds of that acceleration, you would need 500 meters of electrical rail track going vertical. And that'll leave you going 441 meters per second, which is quite speedy. But even if you can survive that and get that set up, it actually only gets you up 10 kilometers before you would start to descend. And that doesn't even count air resistance. So that number is going to be way out. In addition, you probably wouldn't want to use it anyway because they stopped using them for a little bit because in 2013, 201 of the 2,000 test launches they tried failed. So these things have a more than 10% rate of failure to begin with. So even if it worked, you probably don't want to do it.
I mean, if you know other options.
So the only workable option that I found, assuming you have your 60 by 60 square area of space to work with, is missile silos generally are between 50 and 55 feet in diameter. So you can just barely fit a missile silo in your country space. Now, this leads to a couple problems. One, building the thing.
Right.
Because assumedly you're the only person in this spot, or say you have a helper, but
you could have some robots do it.
Yeah, you need to get some robot assistance and some fancy cranes, and you would need a lot of help to make this missile silo a reality. And I'm not sure the exact construction requirements to get it going, but it may just be beyond one person's ability to learn and to implement.
They could build it somewhere else and then move it there.
I guess, but you still have to dig a very, very deep hole.
Yeah, you still got to do, yeah.
And I think you have to install a lot of it in place. Like, you can't just bring it prefab completely.
Yeah, I'd imagine so.
But assuming you can get the missile silo working, and assuming you strap yourself in, you have a specialized little spacesuit type thing to keep you alive in the very, very high altitudes, and you get it working, you could do it. You could survive because the missile is going to have enough navigation internally to keep you within your space. And then you just jump off at 30 kilometers, which is totally survivable because the VP of Google, Alan Eustace, he actually did a 41-kilometer free fall to set the record.
I think I mentioned that in a different episode at some point. I don't remember why.
I don't either. I don't remember you mentioning it at all. But yeah, so I think you could technically escape if you can convince someone to build you a missile silo.
So what is your end plan? Because you can't... Are you just going to stay in space?
Well, no, because you can. Well, you're just trying to get out to either.
Yeah, you're trying to get you're trying to go horizontal 25 feet to get into the main Netherland.
Well, you can't because that would be going into a different country then, right?
No, because you're
in Netherland. It's Netherland, then a ring of Belgium.
Oh, okay, I got it.
And then a sweet, tasty core of more Netherlands.
I got it.
So you just got to go up and then back down into the main country and hope you didn't forget your phone.
Right.
So that's what I got. And I think with that, we'll move into our new Would You Rather segment. I'm going to start with Ben here. Ben, important question. Would you rather have 2 extra arms or 2 extra legs?
All right. I legitimately don't think this is a question because is there any benefit to having 2 extra? I can think of lots of benefits to having 2 extra arms. Is there a single benefit to having 2 extra legs?
Oh, yeah. Yes.
I assume arms comes with, you mean hands.
That's actually an important question. Yeah.
Yes, they come with, the legs come with feet and the arms come with hands. Okay. They're fully functional.
You should specify that, though. You're right.
Do you want 2 extraneous appendages coming from your butt or from your shoulders?
Yeah, where do you want your tentacles, my friend?
That's like the start of an octopus porno.
Yeah.
A very polite one.
A very polite one. Okay, I'm sure there are some benefits to extra legs, like, I don't know, like sick dance moves and stepping on ants. I don't know. Like, that's all I'm really coming up with at a glance. Having extra arms would make everything so much easier. Think about like going to the grocery store and having 2 more hands for carrying back your groceries. Like, just that as like a base level. Or if you only have 2 hands of groceries, just being able to open your door without having to like awkwardly shift them around and shit.
If you had 2 extra legs, you wouldn't have to hold onto the rail on the subway.
Okay, that's actually a really good point.
It's a very good benefit. You have so much stability.
Stability was an underrated aspect I did not think of. Ooh.
Actually, here's the thing. So, talk about carrying groceries, right?
Yeah.
You got 2 extra arms. You have twice as many things to hang grocery bags from.
Mm-hmm.
But if you have 2 extra legs, you can carry twice the grocery bag weight because you're distributing it across 4 legs instead of 2. Like, all your 4 arms go to the same 2 legs.
You're going to be really unstable with 2 extra arms. carrying
I don't think you'll be more unstable. I think you'll be about the same amount of stable. You have more bits to flail around to stabilize
you'll be top
yourself.
heavy.
You could make yourself more unstable if you tried to.
Yeah, like if you're going to the grocery store and you're carrying more stuff than you normally would.
Yeah. You will be top heavy. Interesting. Okay, so you know what? Legs are actually a stronger contender than I initially thought.
Do you think you'd be able to
it's
run?
actually why I put this question, because I thought the same thing too. I was like, extra arms, extra legs, obviously arms, delete. And I'm like, wait a minute.
Yeah,
legs aren't bad.
Yeah. Do you think you'd be able to run faster with extra legs?
I think you run slower.
Run slower?
Well, no. It takes you longer to get running, but then you can run high. You have higher top speed, like animals.
So where are these legs coming from?
So,
like, how are they organized?
I think you're kind of like a crab man.
That's what I was seeing.
Your front legs are like probably like 30 degrees forward, and then or like 30 degrees from vertical forward, and your back legs are 30 degrees from vertical backwards.
So you have no legs going straight down.
Right.
Okay.
You can make them go straight down. I mean, I think they'd be flexible enough to do that. You definitely don't have like childish alien drawing where your four legs are like in a fan,
right,
horizontal, because that's not great.
It's not helpful to anyone.
Yeah, I think I'd say legs based on all of that.
I don't think you'd run faster. I'm trying to.
I still think you would run faster.
No, because you can leap now. You're doing like the leaps. Like you're galloping now.
I guess you can basically gallop. Maybe you are. Oh man, it might be legs. You're right. I didn't expect that.
I don't think any of us expected that.
I'm surprised you got switch. 2 arms are still way better.
Hold on. Okay. Wait. Important question. All right. So I'm assuming we're all sitting down right now, right?
Yeah.
So you have an extra set of legs. What are they doing while you're sitting down? How are they?
Well, I think chairs would just be different, right? So you'd be like sort of straddling it.
It would be a stool-based society, is what you're saying.
Yeah. Why would you even need a fucking chair?
You still want to rest your legs.
Yeah, you don't want to stand the whole time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I could put my legs like sideways out the armholes, or I could like, yeah, you could put holes in your chair, or you could sit like you could sit on your cross-legged legs and have your other legs. I don't know if I can explain this in words.
I think it is just a stool. I think it's just a much more stool-based system where you just lower yourself down onto a stool and kind of have your legs like, your feet are still all touching the ground, but your weight is on the stool. If that makes sense. Yeah?
Oh, sitting on a cold toilet seat is twice as bad because there's twice as much contact area.
What would toilets look like?
They would look the same. You just have legs going back.
I guess.
Like, just imagine you straddle, like you go...
Yeah, I guess so.
You go to your toilet, and then you just decide to sit on it forward instead of backwards.
What would a car seat look like?
Oh, cars are tricky.
Would it be easier to drive a stick?
Wait, why would it be easier to drive a... I guess because you have an extra... Well, no, it wouldn't. It would not be.
I mean,
easier.
You don't need an extra leg to hit the clutch.
You don't. No, that's what your other leg is for already.
Yeah, you're only using one leg in an automatic.
I guess they're not designed for 3-legged people. So
right.
All right. I think we've deliberated.
So
enough
wait.
on
So
this
me
one.
and Ben said legs, and you said arms.
Well, don't decide for us, because we've talked a little bit more. Ben, arms or legs?
It is. Oh man. I think I am gonna have to go legs.
Chris, arms or legs?
Yeah, I'm gonna go legs too. My initial thought was arms, but I'm going legs.
I think it's still arms. I think just more hands does so much more for you in today's day and age. Like, say driving, I can have 2 hands at 2 and 10, and also be on my phone, and also change the radio station.
Okay, well, hold on. That's not the reason that. You know what? I'm just gonna let that one go. Just glide on by there.
I think having extra arms is obviously more useful. I don't think that the stuff we've come up with for legs outpaces that.
Was that intentional? Outpaces?
No, but there we go.
I don't know. I really hate holding onto that rail on the subway. So
I think the carrying weight thing is carrying a lot of weight for me. That one was intentional. It wasn't my star of the sentence, but I got there.
Ben, you know what else carries a lot of weight?
What?
Our Hypotheticals on our Patreon.
Jesus.
Guys, we got a Patreon now.
Ben's like, what do you want me to say here?
I was just pausing in case you needed to do a sting. But I guess there wasn't one. Anyhow, we have a Patreon where we have a bunch of different donation levels. For $1, you will be in the hypothetical category,
where you get absolutely nothing.
Which is basically, yeah, it doesn't get you any benefits, but it does show your support for our show and lets us keep making it, and feels really, really good to us to receive that and we very, very much appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.
I want to do nothing to cheapen this tier. It is a legit show of support and faith, and we love you. But if you want to be hypotheticooler, then you will donate our $3 a month tier, in which case you get access to our $3 one vote system.
Well, you get we're gonna have more than one thing to vote on. You'll get multiple votes.
Yeah, so we're gonna start implementing different things to vote on, especially primarily which questions we actually answer on the show.
A bunch of different things, like the Would You Rather that we just did.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Would You Rathers, really anything in the show that we can make it up to the viewer to decide. We want to try and do a lot of polls because we really want to have you guys help us shape the show and bring it to what you guys want to hear. So that would be excellent. But there's more, because if you want to be the hypotheticalest, absolutely the coolest, you can go to our $5 a month tier where you will get bonus content in the form of our behind the scenes episode that we'll be releasing every month, which is going to be a more casual hangout with me, Ben, and Chris is his name.
Forgot my name.
So casual, you forget each other's names.
Well, no, the problem is half the time that I refer to Ben, we refer to our friend group where it's me, Ben, and the Aarons.
Yeah.
And I was like, me, Ben, and nope, not Aaron. Aaron. Wait, no, not Aaron either. Not the other Aaron either. It's Chris. But yeah, that behind the scenes episode is probably going to sound a lot more like just that, because it's going to be a bit more casual. I think our guard will be a bit lower. It's going to be a bit more casual. I said that twice now. And we're going to go into the stuff of how we make the show and what we hate about each other's answers.
There's a lot of stuff. We argue a lot after we've recorded an episode, especially in fight episodes.
Oh yeah, we definitely do.
Oh, definitely.
We can discuss that in the behind the scenes.
You will be able to see, it's not behind the scenes of that making of the show, it's behind the scenes of me and Chris and Ben's farce of a relationship.
Right.
Yeah, that will come out the first Friday of every month.
Exactly.
And the first one will actually be free to everyone.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, so you can get a sweet, sweet taste of what you're missing. But that doesn't preclude us from doing weekly episodes. So join us next week where we answer the following. In honor of Mother's Day, who is nature's best and worst moms?